published, 7:44 EDT, the 24th of May 2018, updated, 15:35 EDT, the 24th of May 2018. The grandmother of 4 children killed in a horrific arson attack on their home has said doctors treating their seriously ill mother can never fix their broken heart. Sound reliever spoke outside court today after Zach Bulland, 23, his 20-year-old girlfriend Courtney Brierly and David Worrell, 26, were jailed for a total of 98 years. CCTV footage shown to jurors showed them laughing and joking as they bought crates of beer just 20 minutes before their attack in Walton, Manchester. It killed Demi Pearson, 15, her brother Brandon, 8, sister Lacey, 7, and sister Leah, 3, and left their mother Michelle in a 6-month coma. Ms. Lever told reporters today her daughter Michelle Pearson was still recovering in hospital thanks to NHS staff, but the family will never recover from losing the 4 children. She said, "They will never be able to fix her broken heart. Our lives are just not the same without them. I was a nanny of 11. Now I am a nanny of 7. Grandmother of the 4 children murdered in an arson attack in Walton, Manchester." Sound reliever speaks of her agony outside Manchester Crown Court. Today Zach Bulland, left, 23, David Worrell, centre, 26, and Courtney Brierly, right, 20, had been on trial accused of murdering the young siblings in Walton, Manchester, last December. We'll never again hear their voices. I hope that Bulland, Worrell and Brierly know they have taken away the lights of our lives. We are very happy today with the results and like to thank all those who helped us get justice. Zach Bulland, 23, was given 4 life sentences at Manchester Crown Court and told he must serve a minimum of 40 years for the 4 murders. David Worrell, 25, was also given 4 life sentences and ordered to serve a minimum term of 37 years for the murders of siblings. Demi Pearson, 15, her brother, Brandon, aged 8, and sisters, Lacey, aged 7, and Leah, aged 3. Courtney Brierly, 20, who was found guilty of 4 counts of manslaughter over the deaths of the children following the incident on December 11 last year, was locked up for 21 years. CCTV of Zach Bulland buying petrol from a Texaco fuel station ahead of the arson attack. Bulland's co-accused David Worrell accompanies him on the purchase, with Brierly behind in CCTV images. The trio looked as if they had not a care in the world as they were pictured by an in-store camera snapping up 2 boxes of Budweiser beer at an off-license in the city. The group appeared to share a joke with staff and fellow customers before an unsuspecting cashier even gave Worrell a friendly fist bump as they left the store. But within minutes, 2 of the bottles had been turned into deadly Molotov cocktails to firebomb the family home of Kyle Pearson, who had been in a feud with Bulland. CCTV images captured Bulland and Worrell filling up a petrol can at a Texaco fuel station before arriving at teenager Pearson's home in Walton. 2 of the beer bottles were turned into deadly Molotov cocktails to firebomb the family home of teenager Kyle Pearson, who had been engaged in a petty feud with Bulland. Brandon, 8. Lacey, 7, and Leah, 3, pictured together, died after the fire in Walton. Fire damage to the property in Walton, Greater Manchester, where the siblings died last year. Kyle, 16, managed to escape out of an upstairs window, but his 4 siblings perished. Relatives of the victims cried yes as the verdicts were returned. Pictured is the bathroom. The 2 men then removed a fence panel from the garden of the Pearsons' home, smashed a kitchen window and tossed in 2 lit petrol bombs. David Worrell was shaking like a leaf when he stepped out of the shower at his mother's house to find police waiting to arrest him for murder. The father of 1 had got involved in a fatal arson attack over a row he had no involvement in with people he did not even know. Separated from the mother of his child, he cried that he was never going to see his daughter again if he went to jail. The 25-year-old mumbled his way through his evidence, occasionally tearful, saying he knew nothing of a plan to set fire to the house. He did not simply disappear into the night after petrol was purchased and the bombs prepared, he said, because it was too far to walk the 3 miles home to his mother's house in Coronation Street in Salford. It would have taken me an hour and a half, He complained, so he went along with Zach Boulond instead. Worrell had previously failed to complete a community order for drink driving as he went on the sick and claimed benefits, he told the jury at Manchester Crown Court. He denied prosecution claims that he helped prepare the petrol bombs and that he smashed Michelle Pearson's kitchen window with an axe to throw in the first petrol bomb. He told the jury he thought they were going to set fire to the bins. But you do not need a petrol bomb to set fire to bins, and there were no bins at the back of the Mrs. Pearson's house, the jury heard. Like Boulond, he had been drinking and snorting cocaine that night. Worrell said he just stood there and was dragged along by Boulond and ran off when his co-accused smashed the window and lit the first bottle. In the weeks and months before the fire, Worrell had strangled another friend, pinning his victim to a settee by the throat before hitting a woman friend's car with a machete. And twice during rows on Facebook he threatened to blow up people's homes. He lied to police after his arrest and told officers he was scared of being labeled a grass apostrophe. A police officer responded, "What's being a grass when 4 kids are dead?" One landed near the stairs, blocking the only exit to the ground floor and trapped the occupants as they lay asleep inside. Kyle, 16, managed to escape out of an upstairs window, but his siblings Demi Pearson, 15, her brother Brandon, 8, and sister Lacey, 7, sleeping in a front bedroom, perished in the flames. Younger sister Leah, aged 3, was rescued from the house but died in hospital 2 days later. Their mother Michelle Pearson, 36, who was sleeping in the same room as Leah, escaped the blaze but was overheard screaming, "Not the kids! Not my kids!" as the fire engulfed the 3-bedroom mid-terrace house. She subsequently collapsed into a 6-month coma and only learnt of her children's deaths last month. She remains seriously ill in hospital. Today chilling footage of the killers emerged as Boulond and Worrell were both found guilty of 4 charges of murder. Boulond was found guilty of 4 counts of murder and 3 of attempted murder. Worrell was convicted of 4 counts of murder and 3 of attempted grievous bodily harm with intent. Brierley, Boulond's girlfriend at the time, was accused of encouraging the attack and was found guilty of 4 counts of manslaughter, but cleared of 3 counts of attempted murder. Members of the Pearson family sitting in the public gallery hissed yes as the guilty verdicts were delivered. Following around 16 hours of deliberation by the jury in the dock, Worrell blinked hard and put his head down. Worrell sat looking straight ahead crying silently, while Brierley also wiped away tears. Kyle saw the light from Demi's mobile phone at the window before she coughed in the thick smoke, then appeared to fall away from the window. CCTV shown to the jury showed Boulond and Worrell at the address at 4:55 a.m. for 1 minute and 5 seconds. The cameras recorded a flash, then a larger second one from the petrol bombs. Before they fled, neighbors ran out to help but were beaten back by the heat and flames as multiple 999 calls were made. 3 fire engines scrambled to the scene, the first arriving at 5:04 a.m., with firefighters in breathing apparatus finding Brandon face down on his bedroom floor, as if trying to crawl out, and Lacey directly behind him, suggesting she was following her brother to try to escape. An image taken by firefighters of the property ablaze in Walkden on December 11 last year pictured as one of the petrol bombs used in the attack which killed 4 children in their sleep. Petrol cans used in the attack. Worrell, Boulond and Brierley had been on trial for murder. Boulond murdered 4 children by firebombing their home and gloated when police decided to take no further action in messages to girlfriend Brierley, pictured together, and friends pictured. Heartbroken grandmother Sandra Lever, who spoke after the court case ended. Grandmother Sandra Lever has spoken of her grief and described how she still has her 4 grandchildren's Christmas presents in her wardrobe. She described the children as lovely, quiet and happy-go-lucky. She said, "They all had their own view what to do with life when they were older. Demi just wanted to go to college." Brandon, he also liked architecture. He always wanted to build a big house for his mum when he was 18. Lacey was always dancing. Leah was still a baby. She just used to copy Lacey. The grandparent said it has been horrible for the family, with the murder happening just before Christmas. She said, "I've still got all the kids' presents in the wardrobe. It's been horrible, because it was Lacey's birthday on the 1st of December, so she managed to have her birthday out of the way, and, Michelle, it was her birthday on the 23rd and she spent it in hospital. And she found out about the fire after a neighbor spotted her daughter Michelle's house on the television." She said, "We made a few phone calls. 3 fatalities, that's all we heard. Not sure who, because there was 6 in the house that night. So we didn't know who passed away, and we were praying, oh, not the kids, not the kids apostrophe. She said she knew about the problems Michelle had been having and her fears that their home would be attacked." Speaking on behalf of the family outside court, Ms. Lever said, "Today may be the end of the trial, but it's not for us as we try to recover and get on with our lives." Michelle, the children's mum, is still in hospital recovering from her injuries and will be for some time to come. The staff have been amazing and are trying their best to fix her, but they will never be able to fix her broken heart. "We miss the children every day. Our lives are just not the same without them. I was a nana of 11, now I'm a nana of 7. We will never again hear their voices shouting out Granddad or Nana or Auntie Claire, Auntie Sarah, Uncle Matty or Uncle Chris. That thought leaves us numb. We won't be able to tell them off for the running in the supermarket, or hear them giggle as they jump too high on the trampoline. I hope that Bolland, Worrell and Brierley know they have taken away the light of our lives. We are very happy with the result and would like to thank all those who have helped us to get justice." Demi was found on a bunk bed, hands stretched out to the open window, and Leah was found in the bath. Zach Bolland had a history of violence against women and an apparent fixation with fire before he killed 4 children in a petrol bomb attack. He stalked the estates around Walkden in a black hoodie, kept a pit bull-type dog, did not have a job but had money for drink and drugs, and habitually carried a large machete with an 18 inches blade down his tracksuit bottoms, for protection. He told the jury, in September 2014 he grabbed a female victim by the hair and dragged her across a street and was convicted of battery. 2 years later he punched another woman, grabbed her throat and threatened her with a hammer. Again he was convicted of battery. He also made a threat to burn down the house of a relative of the victim, when a one-time ally, who later became an enemy, came under threat from a notorious Salford gang known as the 8-Team. Bolland advised him, "We should burn them out if they get out of cars, don't give them a chance, burn them." Bolland lived at home with his mother, who worked at Salford Royal Hospital, where his victims were taken, along with his stepfather, 2 of his 3 brothers and his girlfriend Courtney Brierley. He had known Michelle Pearson since he was 6, had been in her home and knew her children during previous attacks on her house, and on the night of the fatal fire, he admitted being high on drink and cocaine, which Brierley told the court made him more aggressive and paranoid. He would carry on arguments through Facebook and text messages, winding himself up as the insults continued. Bolland thought nothing of calling Mrs. Pearson, a mother of 6, a rat and a scruff, or breaking her windows, causing her children to run upstairs in terror. He showed no emotion in the witness box, except to say he found it difficult to accept what had happened. He suggested the firebombing was a spur-of-the-moment idea thought up by David Worrell, but he had used fire just 2 days before the fatal attack to torch Mrs. Pearson's wheelie bin. Brierley claimed her ex would lock her in their bedroom, hide her clothes, obsessively monitor her calls and social media, and use violence to enforce his rules. He gave her a black eye, and her mother, who despised him, put the photo on Facebook and it was shared thousands of times. After his arrest he wrote to Brierley 5 times from prison, telling her it was him and her against the world, and that he loved her and wanted to marry her so she could have his babies. He wanted her as an alibi, to back up his claim that he thought the house was empty, but she did not reply and it failed. You would throw anyone to the wolves if it helps you. You will tell any lie to save yourself, and you will sacrifice anyone who gets in your way. Andrew Hall QC, defending Brierley, told him as firemen battled the heat, smoke and flames to bring them out. A team of 15 paramedics worked on the mother and her children laid out on the snow-covered street. Boulogne and Kyle had been friends until the accused's Peugeot car was set on fire and his house windows smashed, around November 25 last year, about 2 weeks before the fatal attack, and he blamed the teenager. The defendant demanded £500, sending harassing text messages, one demanding, "Fire letterbox, I want my £500. Boulogne threatened to firebomb Mrs. Pearson's home, leading her to call police on November 26, and the fire service fitted a letterbox cover, but due to an apparent misunderstanding police took no action against Boulogne for smashing windows at Mrs. Pearson's home, and days later he was back gloating that he had escaped police action and taunting her with shouts of grass. Mrs. Pearson again called police and asked for a restraining order, but 2 days before her children were murdered her bin was set on fire and the word grass spray painted on her house. Hours before the attack, Boulogne and Worrell spent the night drinking before both made their first visit to Jackson Street around midnight on December 11, about 4 hours before the fire. Worrell attacked the front door with a metal pole before Boulogne threatened he would kill them all. Before they left, police arrived and took a statement from Mrs. Pearson, one officer checking on the youngsters upstairs, who were asleep, back at his mother's house 2 minutes walk away. Boulogne and Worrell became more aggressive as they snorted cocaine and drank lager before Boulogne said, "Shall we do it?" And Worrell replied, "Yeah, I'll do it." Arming themselves with an axe and a machete they got a frightened friend, Abigail Toone, to drive them to a Tesco garage for the petrol to be used in the attack. Ms. Toone drove them back to Boulogne's home, where the two men went inside, emerging a few minutes later with the bottles. Briley gave the driver directions to an alley near the Pearson home where she told her boyfriend, "Do it quick, Zach, hurry up." As the two men got out with the bottles, Boulogne and Briley were arrested at around 6 p.m. on the day of the fire, after contacting police, walking hand in hand to the officers who arrived to arrest them. Worrell was arrested, shaking profusely, the day after as he stepped out of the shower at his mother's house on Coronation Street, Salford. Boulogne admitted throwing the second petrol bomb but said he intended only to damage the house which he thought was not occupied. "I heard like a big whoosh. I didn't look back," he told the jury. He blamed Mrs. Pearson's sons for an earlier attempt to torch his car, smash his windows and set fire to his mother's home. Worrell said he thought they were only going to set fire to wheelie bins and denied throwing a petrol bomb. Briley said she did not know the two men had petrol bombs and claims Boulogne had a controlling influence over her during their toxic relationship. Mrs. Pearson is still very, very poorly and there is a serious risk she may not survive if she catches an infection to her dreadful burns. Demi Pearson, 15, also died in a house fire in Walkden on December 11 last year. Mother Michelle Pearson, left, is still seriously ill after she survived the fire, but it killed her young daughter Lacey, 7. Right, 4 people died in the fire but 3 more survived by jumping from windows or being dragged out of the burning building. The arsonists picked up 2 boxes of Budweiser at an off-license in the city before the attack. A smashed window and slashed blind are pictured at the house in Greater Manchester. Boulogne, who showed no emotion, was also convicted of 3 charges of attempted murder, whilst Boulogne was found guilty of 3 alternative charges of attempting to cause grievous bodily harm with intent. Relatives of the victims cried yes as the unanimous verdicts were returned following 3 days of deliberation. The killers will be sentenced later. Courtney Briley portrayed herself as a victim of domestic violence and ignorant of her boyfriend's plans to firebomb the Pearson household, but she was not averse to using violence herself. The 20-year-old had a string of convictions for threatening behavior, street robbery and battery. While on holiday in Wales in 2014, she head-butted and punched another woman to the ground. When she was arrested, it needed 5 people to restrain her. One police officer said Briley was the most violent person I have ever had to deal with in custody. In WhatsApp messages with Zach Boulogne in February 2017, Briley told her boyfriend of her anger at another person, saying, "I wish I could set the house on fire and lock all the doors and windows and watch them burn alive." Her parents split and she had been living at home in Walkden, Greater Manchester, with her mother, stepfather and 2 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters. She met Boulond at a party and had been seeing him for about a year before the petrol bomb attack. Like Boulond, she did not have a job but did enjoy drinking and drugs and admitted she could sometimes get mouthy. Briley said the relationship turned toxic but she loved Boulond, who was her first boyfriend. She claimed he would not let her speak to her family, return home or contact other male friends, was obsessive and possessive and often violent, especially after drinking and taking drugs. He also broke her iPhone and deleted her Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat and Instagram accounts. He gave her a black eye and her mother put it on Facebook, where it was shared thousands of times. "My mum hated him and he hated her," Briley told the jury, adding that she still forgave Boulond many times. On the night of the fire, she asked her mother if she could go home. "Not until you leave him, Courtney," her mother replied. She told the jury she played no part in any plan to firebomb Michelle Pearson's home. As Boulond set off, Briley told him, "Be quick, Zach. Don't take ages." But she told the jury she only thought the target was to be the wheelie bins. She did not reply to Boulond's love letters sent from prison while both were on remand, and refused to provide an alibi. But she was accused in court of being economical with the truth, giving a distorted picture to lessen her culpability for the firebombing. Manchester Crown Court heard Boulond and Kyle had once been friends but fell out in November last year after the older man's car was set on fire. He blamed Kyle for the blaze and a series of tit-for-tat vandal attacks occurred at their respective family homes. The feud escalated 2 weeks before the murders when Kyle's mother made a statement to police after Boulond sent her a text saying, "You owe me 5 ton today no matter what. You bunch of rats." In a series of messages to Briley he said, "I'm wanted now babe. She's grassed me up. The feds just been. Big mistake this in it. Just going to get interviewed and get bail and smack the grass. But after officers decided to take no further action due to a misunderstanding, Boulond texted a friend saying, "Got NFA. Ha ha ha." Michelle Proper put a statement in. "I'm buzzing. She's a stupid C and I'm going to let everyone know she's a grass." A cover was fitted on Mrs. Pearson's letterbox to prevent petrol being poured through and set alight, but she also asked officials to be moved because she no longer felt safe in her home. But 4 hours before the arson attack on December 11, Boulond hammered on the front door of the Pearsons' home, shouting, "All your family's getting it. They're all gonna die. I'll kill them all." Police assured Mrs. Pearson officers would drive past the house every hour, but in the meantime Boulond and Worrell then went to the local garage with a petrol can, buying £1.50 of petrol. They used the fuel to fill 2 glass beer bottles and returned with Briley in a Fiat Punto car to the Pearsons' home. Next-door neighbor Karen Cormos told the jury, "I could hear Michelle shouting, not the children. Not the kids. I could hear her voice, not my kids. It happened in 2 minutes. The windows blown out and the flames coming out of both the upstairs and downstairs. It was gone. Just smoke." Another neighbor Tony Holdsworth said he saw flames coming out like a jet from the windows of the house and saw Kyle and a 17-year-old friend going absolutely crazy outside pleading for the children to be rescued. Mr. Holdsworth kicked in the front door but was beaten back by the flames and heat. Boulond admitted arson but denied murder, claiming he thought no one was at home. Briley and Worrell also have walked and denied all then charges. Speaking after the sentencing, Greater Manchester Police's Chief Inspector said the case had been one of the most heartbreaking of his career. Detective Chief Inspector Lewis Hughes said, "This is one of the most heartbreaking cases I have ever dealt with. I am glad that the sentences these 3 have received today reflect their atrocious acts, but nothing can change what has happened and nothing can bring back the children. I would like to commend the bravery of the children's family. I can't even begin to imagine what they have been through. My thoughts will always be with their mother Michelle, along with their father. brothers and wider family and friends. They have all shown a phenomenal amount of strength during the most devastating of circumstances. When Bulland, Worrell and Brierley planned their attack, they knew that innocent children were asleep in their beds. The death of 4 children was the culmination of a series of tit-for-tat attacks during the petty feud between Zach Bulland and Kyle Pearson over a 3-week period late last year. Here are the key events. November 25th, Zach Bulland's Peugeot car is set on fire. He claims his house on Blackleach Drive, Walkden, was also targeted with petrol, but he put out the flames and blames Kyle Pearson. He demands money for the damage, texting Pearson's mother Michelle Pearson, "Fire letterbox, I want my £500. November 26th, around 9 a.m. Bulland uses a hammer to smash the front windows and panes of glass in the front door of Mrs. Pearson's home at 8 Jackson Street, and she calls police. Later that day Kyle Pearson, his brother Lewis, and friends Bobby Harris and Luke Fleming, all armed with clubs and hammers, smash windows at Bulland's mother's home. Bulland, Courtney Brierley and his brothers clash with the Pearsons in the street. Police attend Mrs. Pearson's home in the evening after Bulland sends a text to Kyle threatening to petrol bomb the house. November 28th, fire service attends to fit a letterbox cover to 8 Jackson Street, to prevent accelerants being poured inside and set alight. December 1st, Bulland and Brierley go to the Pearson house, taunting Mrs. Pearson that Bulland had been NFA'd, escaped police action for breaking her windows, and he makes further threats. She calls police, gives a statement and asks for a restraining order on Bulland. December 9th, shortly before 6 a.m. Mrs. Pearson's wheelie bin is set on fire and grass spray painted on her house by Bulland. Police attend and she names Bulland as the likely culprit. December 10th, Bulland and Brierley are joined by David Worrell and others in the evening, buying 2 cases of Budweiser from a local shop at 10:27 p.m. December 11th, at 0:40 am Bulland, Worrell and 2 others go to Jackson Street, kicking off, bashing the door and Worrell threatening to kill them all before returning to Bulland's house. Police attend and take a statement from Mrs. Pearson, who wants Bulland arrested, before the officers leave 90 minutes later. 3:30 am Bulland, Brierley and Worrell buy a case of Stella Lager and a bottle of wine from a local garage and return home to Bulland's house. 4:33 am Bulland and Worrell pay £1.50 for 1.23 litres of unleaded petrol from a local garage, put in a green petrol can. 4:54 am Bulland and Worrell lift a garden fence panel at the back of 8 Jackson Street. Seconds later the flares of 2 petrol bombs are caught on a local CCTV camera. 5:04 am the first of 3 fire engines arrive and enter the house, which is already well ablaze, to rescue the occupants. 5:47 am Brandon Pearson declared dead in hospital. 6:02 am Lacey Pearson declared dead in hospital. 7:10 am Demi Pearson declared dead at the scene. 5:56 p.m. Bulland and Brierley arrested by police. December 12th, Worrell arrested. December 13th, life support turned off for Leah Pearson, aged 3. At 2:30 p.m. They smashed the kitchen window and threw their handmade petrol bombs inside. Their fire spread so quickly and the heat was so intense that the smoke alarms melted before they had chance to sound. This left the family with virtually no chance of escape. Understandably, the children's family will still have questions which we will continue to try and answer. Michelle Pearson is still in hospital and will be for some time to come. I wish her the very best with her recovery. I hope achieving some justice can give her a small amount of peace in these most difficult and tragic circumstances. The children's family should now be given the time to grieve and finally lay the children to rest. Mark Andrews, of the Crown Prosecution Service, added, "The actions of Zach Bulland, David Worrell, and Courtney Brierley resulted in the deaths of 4 innocent children. All 3 denied responsibility, but the CPS built a strong case and demonstrated to the jury that they were all responsible for the deaths of Demi, Brandon, Lacey, and Leah. This included presenting evidence which showed the defendants had purchased petrol and glass bottles and had threatened to harm the family before the arson. Our thoughts are with the family and friends of the victims. How tragic. Mother called police 5 times over threats in the 2 weeks before her children died. Michelle Pearson had called police on at least 5 occasions in the 2 weeks before her children died, as Zach Boulond was threatening to use fire to harm her family. Her home of 14 years was attacked, its windows and doors smashed, graffiti sprayed on the walls, and her wheelie bin set on fire by Boulond. Each time police attended, each time she named Boulond as the culprit. Emergency services at the scene of the fire in Greater Manchester on December 11 last year. She saw at least 6 different officers. Statements were made, risk referral forms completed, fire service personnel carried out 2 safe and well visits, the family social worker was informed, social services alerted, and she begged her landlord, Housing Association City West, to move her. On one occasion police even went as far as arresting Zach Boulond. On 2 other occasions, after he set her bin on fire 2 days before the fatal fire, and banged on her door threatening to kill them all 4 hours before he torched the house, he was not held by police. Boulond lived just over 300 yards from Mrs. Pearson's home. An investigation of Greater Manchester Police, GMP, by the Independent Office for Police Conduct, IOPC, is suspended pending the outcome of the trial. Forensic officers at the scene of the house fire in Walkden last December. Mrs. Pearson, 36, told police she was willing to go to court to support Boulond's prosecution when he first smashed her windows, and made a statement to that effect. But after Boulond sent a text threatening to petrol bomb her home, 2 weeks before the fatal fire, she called police again, and this time she told officers she suffered from anxiety and did not wish to attend court, and asked about a restraining order. Another officer explained she would not have to go to court in person. A statement would do, but due to an apparent misunderstanding a decision was taken for Boulond to be NFA'd, no further action, for smashing her windows. She only found out when he came to her home gloating and calling her a grass and a rat, and the decision left her horrified. Mrs. Pearson told her useless housing provider, City West, she did not feel safe at home with 5 children and wanted out. City West said they never received any request for a move, believed to have been handled by Salford City Council, who said, no comment, but that a serious case review is underway. Police were at Mrs. Pearson's house to take a statement on the night of the fire after Boulond had been round kicking off. Mrs. Pearson was described as being fed up, angry, miffed off. It is not clear if officers immediately actively sought out Boulond, who was at home at the time, a couple of minutes walk away, drinking lager and snorting cocaine. 2 hours after police had taken another statement from Mrs. Pearson and left her home, Boulond returned to Jackson Street again, armed with 2 petrol bombs.